welcome to this week's video. For this week, I'm doing my wrap-up for the month of March. Just a few books that I read, no DNFs, and one of them was an audiobook, which I think was my favorite of the month, definitely. So let's start with, I finished From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I liked it. I wouldn't say I loved it, just because the language of it sort of bugged me a little bit. It read a little too present day, kind of like real world present day, like particularly the way Poppy talked. Now, I'll just read the back blurb for you. Chosen from birth to usher in a new era, Poppy's life has never been her own. The life of the maiden is solitary, never to be touched, never to be looked upon, never to be spoken to, never to experience pleasure. Of course, in this book, she does all three. All four, excuse me. Definitely all four. Waiting for the day of her ascension, she would rather be with guards fighting back the evil that took her family than preparing to be found worthy by the gods. But the choice has never been hers. The entire kingdom's future rests on Poppy's shoulders, something she's not even quite sure she wants for herself. Because a maiden has a heart and a soul and a longing, and when Hawk, a golden-eyed guard, honor-bound to ensure her ascension, enters her life, destiny and duty become entangled with desire and need. He incites her anger, makes her question everything she believes in, and tempts her with the forbidden. Forsaken by the gods and feared by mortals, a fallen kingdom is rising once more, determined to take back what they believe is theirs through violence and vengeance. And as the shadow of those cursed draws closer, the line between what is forbidden and what is right becomes blurred. Poppy is not only on the verge of losing her heart and being found unworthy by the gods, but also her life, when every blood-soaked thread that holds her world together begins to unravel. So, this is a fantasy romance. And I loved, I loved Poppy and Hawk's relationship. As soon as Hawk came on the scene, I immediately pictured Aragorn from Lord of the Rings. That changes. And then I pictured someone else, because we learned some things about Hawk, and all I'm going to say is Supernatural. The TV show Supernatural. If you know, you know. That's all I'm going to say about that. And I wasn't overly fond of the politics, but yeah, my favorite part of the book was Poppy and Hawk's relationship. And I also enjoyed the relationship that Poppy had with sort of like the people around her, with Victor, with Rylan, and Tawny. So I liked that. I liked Poppy and Hawk. The thing that I didn't like was Poppy's voice. I didn't like her voice. Her voice sounded too contemporary. Like, she would say things like whenever she was annoyed about something or didn't like something that somebody was saying, she would say whatever. She would say that she was trying to be snarky, or she was trying to out-snark people. And that's not Fantasy Kingdom sort of language. That's contemporary today sort of language. And that bugged me and kept jerking me sort of out of the story. So I didn't like Poppy's voice, but I liked the story. And discoveries were made, and I am intrigued to find out what happens in future books, because I think this is a trilogy. because I know like in the back they preview the blurbs for 2 more books, like the sequel, and there's a third. I don't know if there's more, but yeah, I'm interested in sort of seeing where the story goes. So I liked it. Didn't love it. I don't think it's worth like all the hoopla that was around it, like the way this book exploded. Like I no, I don't think it was worth that, but I did enjoy it. Um, I read Lawrence Hill's The Book of Negroes. Loved it. Um, and it's let me just read the blurb for you. When Aminata Diallo sits down to pen the story of her life in London, England, at the dawn of the 19th century, she has a world of experience behind her. Abducted from her village in West Africa as an 11-year-old child and forced to walk in a coffle, a string of slaves, for months to the sea, Aminata is put to work on an indigo plantation on the Sea Islands of South Carolina. She survives by using midwifery skills learned at her mother's side and by drawing on a strength of character inherited from both parents. But Aminata remains trapped, narrowly avoiding the violence that cuts short so many lives around her. Eventually, she has the chance to register her name in the Book of Negroes, a historic British military ledger allowing 3,000 black loyalists passage on ships sailing from Manhattan to Nova Scotia. And so I loved it, but with a caveat that I did find it a bit dry in some places. I loved Aminata as a character, and the strength of her character, and like the stuff that she has to endure, and the loss that she has to endure. I just wanted one thing before this book finished, and I thank God I got it. And I thought it was really good sort of exploration of the different sort of character types in relation to sort of slavery. Because you had the evil pieces of shit like Appleby, but then you had Lindo? Solomon Lindo? I believe was his name. And yeah, Lindo. Solomon Lindo, who was a slave owner, but was nowhere near the evil that was Appleby, and basically did what he did, the things that he did, to keep Aminata alive. And he was a very, in my opinion, complex character. But Aminata's journey is really powerful, and I can see why this book is as powerful and acclaimed and beloved as it is. The hype around this one I get. The hype around this one I got. But yeah, I just found it a little dry in some places, but overall I really enjoyed it. Now, the book that I loved. Now, I liked From Blood and Ash. I loved the Book of Negroes. I loved this Audible audiobook that I read. And she was a new author to me, though I have heard good things about her from a few booktubers that I follow. And that is Pieces of Her by, ooh, can you see that? Not sure if you can, by Karen Slaughter. I'll try and put the picture there that might show better. But Pieces of Her by Karen Slaughter, which is a Netflix series, which I definitely want to check out to see sort of how it matches up with the book, because I loved the book. Now, I don't have the blurb to hand right now. Let me see if I can get it for you, because I just had the cover to show you. But and I hear that Karen Slaughter is very much known for her sort of violence, and like her books are supposed to be like really sort of like gory, and but this one was not, so I think it was a good introduction. Okay, so you know what? I'm glad that I didn't remember the I'm glad that I didn't remember the blurb as I was reading it, because oh, that's kind of spoilery. Um, so yeah, I would say don't read the blurb. But basically, it is a mystery, which, if you're new here, I don't usually like mysteries. But if it's a mystery with if it's like women and like family secrets and like that kind of stuff, I'm all about that. So this is sort of that. And it starts off with the main character's name is Andy, and her mother's name is Laura. Now, Andy and Laura are at a strip mall one day. They're at a diner in a strip mall, and a mass shooting happens. And Andy's mother does something during the mass shooting that sets off a chain of events and leads Andy down a path of discovery, of discovering some secrets about her mother that makes her question whether she ever knew her mother at all. Now, the twists and turns that this book took, my goodness gracious. And again, I'm not a big mystery person, but because this one was more of a young woman discovering secrets about her mother, and just the banana sandwich crazy sauce that was this book. I don't want to tell you, I don't want to do my usual sort of like, I do sort of like more like recappy kind of book wrap-ups that usually tend to be spoilery, but for this one specifically, I don't want to do that, because the enjoyment that I got from the discoveries that were made in this book, like, I definitely want to read more from Karen Slaughter now. I'm assuming that she has other books that are more violent and gory. But this one was definitely, I think, a good introduction into her work, and I'm so glad that I read it, and now I want to read other stuff from her. So that one was definitely a favorite for this month. Yeah, so that's sort of what I read in March. So 3 books. We have Lawrence Hill's The Book of Negroes, From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout, and Pieces of Her by Karen Slaughter. Absolutely loved it. Oh my god. So, what am I reading now? Still making my way through the poetry of Pablo Neruda, and I've started. Well, I'm almost halfway by this point. Anne of Ingleside by L.M. Montgomery, and oh my god, I'm loving it so far. Loving it in a way that, while I've enjoyed the past 2 or so books in the series, this is more reminiscent of my love of the first few books. Yeah, loving that. And I'm going to be starting my take to work book. I'm kind of in the mood for something short and a little bit of a palate cleanser. Just like whenever I finish like a big book, like with From Blood and Ash, I like to sort of ease in with a smaller sort of book before I start another big book. And I'll be starting Carol Mortimer's Wife by Contract, Mistress by Demand. And oh, I forgot to read the back blurbs for, let's do the back blurb for this first since we have it to hand. Alrighty then. Gabriella Benito fell for wealthy Rufus Gresham, and the first time she saw him. But Rufus believed Gabriella only wanted a rich husband, just like her mother. 5 years later, Rufus and Gabriella must marry to obtain their inheritances. On their wedding day, Gabriella is shocked when Rufus kisses her passionately. Will Rufus use their marriage as an excuse to have her in his bed whenever he wants? My guess is yes. By the cover. So that's what I'm going to be taking to work and reading at work. And let me read the back blurb for Anne of Ingleside. There's never a dull moment for busy, bustling Anne Shirley. Excuse me, it's Anne Blythe now. Let's not forget, it is Anne Blythe now. Damn it, she's married to my precious Gilbert, who's now the mother of 5 children and is the 6th on the way. The Blythe children, full of energy and a taste for adventure, seem to be forever getting into scrapes and misunderstandings. And with Gilbert's insufferable aunt wearing out her welcome with a visit that never seems to end, Anne's life is a constant whirl. But despite the endless demands on her time, Anne can think of no place she'd rather be than her beloved home, Ingleside. At least not until the day she begins to imagine that her cherished Gilbert doesn't love her anymore. Could it possibly be true? She's a little older, but in her heart, Anne knows she's still the same fiery redhead who came to Green Gables all those years ago. She hasn't changed, but has he? My Gilbert would never. No. But I am almost halfway through and absolutely loving it. So this is my classic that I'm reading. This will be my workbook that I will be starting. Haven't picked out an audio yet, but if you're subscribed to me on here, you will you'll see my weekly vlogs and stuff. So when I do choose my audiobook, I will most likely mention it in one of my weekly vlogs. So stay tuned for that. Yeah, so that's going to be it for this week's video. Follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/authorejamie. Like my Facebook page at facebook.com/authorejamie. And I will talk to you guys next time. Bye!